Damodar Divine Grace Laisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Für die, die das Mikrofon aufstellen, ist immer gut, das Mikrofon so unsichtbar wie möglich zu machen, so klein wie möglich. Und hier kannst du jeweils das Lesezeichen drin lassen, wenn du es zumachst. Hier zeigst du so. Hare Krishna. So. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 19. Griheshu Avishatam Cha api Pungsam Kushala karmanam Madvarta Yata Yamana Na Bandhaya Griha Mataha Grihesha Vishatam Chapi Grihesha Vishatam Chapi Pungsam Kushala Karmanam Pungsam Kushala Karmanam Madhvartayata Yamanam Madhvartayata Yamanam Nabandhaya Grihamataha Nabandhaya Grihamataha Grihesha Vishatam Chapi Grihesha Vishatam Chapi Pungsam Kushala Karmanam Madhvartayata Yamanam Nabandhaya Grihamataha. Please chant.
Grihesh Vishatam Chapi Pumsam Kushala Karmanam Madhvarta Yala Yamanam Nabandaya Griha Mataha.
Griheshu Avishtam Chapi Pumsam Kushala Karma Madhvartaya Yamanam Nabandaya Grihamataha.
Mataji's.
Grihesha Vishatam Chapi
Grihesha Vishatam Chapi
Pumsam Kushala Karmana Madhvartayat Yamana Nabandhaya Grihamata
Nabandhaya Grihamata. Griheshu. In family life,
in family life,
Avishatam,
Avishatam,
who have entered,
who have entered,
Cha,
Cha,
also,
also,
Api,
Api,
even,
even,
Pungsam,
Pumsam,
of persons,
of persons,
Kushala Karmana,
Kushala Karmana,
engaged in auspicious activities,
engaged in auspicious activities,
Nutarta,
Madhvarta,
in topics about me,
in topics about me,
Yata,
Yata,
is expanded,
is expanded,
Yamam, Nam,
Yamana,
whose every moment,
whose every moment,
Na,
no,
not,
not,
Bandhaya,
Bandhaya,
for bondage,
for bondage,
Griha,
Griha,
household life,
household life,
Mataha,
Mataha,
considered.
considered.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. Even though such a person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his actions. Purport is a little bit a lengthy purport. So, let's see. If you have something to read along, I think it will be helpful. Maybe I can give you the book and I use my computer. So it's easier, it's a long purport. Maybe you want to read.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I can use that.
Purport. Generally, a person living in a family becomes overly attached to fruitive activity. In other words, he tries to enjoy the results of his activities. A devotee, however, knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and supreme proprietor. Bhuktaram yagyatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram. Consequently, the devotee does not consider himself the proprietor of any occupation. The devotee always thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the proprietor. Therefore, the results of his business are offered to the Supreme Lord. One who thus lives in the material world with his family and children never becomes affected by the contaminations of the material world. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yagyartat karma munyatra lokoyan karma bandhana tad artam karma kunteya mukta sangha samachara. One who tries to enjoy the results of his activities becomes bound by the results. One who offers the results or profits to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, does not become entangled in the results. This is the secret of success. Generally, people take sannyas to become free from the reactions of fruitive activity. One who does not receive the results of his actions, but offers them instead to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly remains in a liberated condition. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami confirms this: Ihayasya harirtasye karmana manasragira nikila shvapyavastasu jivan mukta sauchate. If one engages himself in the service of the Lord through his life, wealth, words, intelligence, and everything he possesses, he will always be liberated in any condition. Such a person is called a Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated during this lifetime. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, those who engage in material activities simply become more entangled in material bondage. They have to suffer and enjoy the actions and reactions of all activity. This Krishna consciousness movement is therefore the greatest boon to humanity, because it keeps one always engaged in Krishna's service. The devotees think of Krishna, act for Krishna, eat for Krishna, sleep for Krishna, and work for Krishna. Thus everything is engaged in the service of Krishna. A total life in Krishna consciousness saves one from material contamination, as stated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Krishna bhajane yaha haya anukul, vishaya balya tyage taha hai bhula. If one is so expert that he can engage everything or dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, to give up the material world would be a great blunder. One should learn how to dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, for everything is connected to Krishna. That is the real purpose of life and secret of success. As reiterated later in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 3:19, Tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakta yacharam karma param apnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. The 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita specifically considers material activities for the purpose of sense gratification and material activities for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that these are not one and the same. Material activities for sense gratification are the cause of material bondage, whereas the very same activities for the satisfaction of Krishna are the cause of liberation. How the same activity can be the cause of bondage and liberation can be explained as follows. One may get indigestion due to eating too many milk preparations, condensed milk, sweet rice and so on. We know this happens to us in this temple sometimes. But even though there is indigestion or diarrhea, another milk preparation, yogurt mixed with black pepper and salt, will immediately cure these maladies. In other words, one milk preparation can cause indigestion and diarrhea, and another milk preparation can cure them. If one is placed in material opulence due to the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he should not consider that opulence a cause for bondage. When a mature devotee is blessed with material opulence, he does not become affected adversely, for he knows how to employ material opulence in the service of the Lord. There are many such examples in the history of the world. There were kings like Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak, Dhruva, Vaivasata Manu, and Maharaj Ikshvaku. All of these were great kings and were especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If a devotee is not mature, the Supreme Lord will take away all his opulence. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead states, Yasyaham anugri nami harishye tat tanam shanai. My first mercy shown to my devotee is to take away all his material opulence. Material opulence, detrimental to devotional service, is taken away by the Supreme Lord, whereas a person who is mature in devotional service is given all material facilities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijnana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitascha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarupesha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namah Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachani Nirvishesha Shunyavati Prachakalisha Tami. Hare Krishna. So this is a very long purport, as you could see, and Prabhupada speaks about many noteworthy points. And in general there's one topic which is quite important to understand, and we also know it's a topic of Bhagavad Gita, the main theme of Bhagavad Gita, how a person can be a devotee and live in this world and act in this world at the same time. Usually when most of us, we grew up in this world without any clue about Krishna. And so our only idea was how can we enjoy ourselves. And so we did that, and somehow, by good fortune, we came to understand that actually we only suffer. Not so many come to this point, but we are fortunate that we came to that realization. And the natural conclusion when one comes to this point is that we try to understand, hold on, why am I suffering? Why am I in this place? I do have to die, and all this. And often then we see and we conclude that this body is a very nasty thing which is conditioning us, which is giving us trouble, which is giving us suffering, and that if I want to enjoy matter with this body, then it entangles me in a network of problems, just one problem after the other. Samsara Dava Nanavida Loka, it's compared to a forest fire, because a forest fire is uncontrollable, it's out of control, and that's our existence, because we decided to come here, we decided to enjoy separately from Krishna, and it was maybe very, in a way, innocent, but then we ended up in a huge net, like a spider net, caught in the net, and we cannot get free anymore. So then the most natural conclusion we can draw is that this body is bad and this material world is bad, and all I have to do is I have to get out of it somehow or other. And in the Vedic understanding, that's very prominent, this concept of liberation, moksha. Because there, from the very birth, people learn that actually I'm like in a prison. So we all came to this point, and we are even more fortunate because there's few people who come to this point, but we are fortunate because we came to Krishna consciousness. Because we can also go to the Buddhists or to the, maybe I should not mention any names now, but to the more impersonal philosophies. And the problem there is that the main focus is how to just get out of this world. So it's a very negative approach. But Srila Prabhupada in the verse itself and in the purport, what comes out is that actually you can act in this world and basically you continue as you did before, but by adjusting your consciousness, that's how you actually become free from material bondage. Srila Prabhupada, he points out that a devotee, he changes that consciousness from I am the enjoyer to Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and he's the proprietor. And by making that adjustment, by changing the consciousness, then we can act in whatever way, and we act not for ourselves but for the pleasure of Krishna. Like Arjuna, he fight the war. And I would like also to read a little bit from Krishna book, which points out very nicely how a pure devotee can know how he can act in this world, doing so many things and at the same time please Krishna. So that is like often the mistake which is made by people who have an experience of suffering in this world. They want to get out of this suffering, and what they do, they become impersonal and they start to renounce everything. But from scriptures we learn that our real problem is that we don't see how everything is connected to Krishna. How he's the Lord, how everything comes from him, everything belongs to him, and how everything is meant to be used for his enjoyment. So as long as this understanding is not there, I can renounce the whole world, but God will not be happy. And then innocent people, sometimes when they see some spiritual yogis who renounce everything, they live secluded, they think them very exalted, but often these people, they don't acknowledge Krishna. Meaning they still have the same faulty mentality of not acknowledging who is actually my boss, who is my boss in my life. And to tell you honestly, I mean for me personally, and I think for many devotees, this is such a big topic, how to balance these two aspects, to be active and at the same time to renounce. Why do I say it's a big topic? Because if we look at the history of our institution itself, we can see that there was a tendency for many years that there was a lot of emphasis on renunciation, to renounce everything, to not have a bank account, to not have a house, to not have a flat, to not have a job, to not have a salary, to not have a relationship. Everything, was considered to be Maya. And we can see many of those who have done a lot of renunciation, it turned around in some way. Not always, but sometimes it happened that after some time they couldn't maintain that level of renunciation. That it was not possible for them to maintain that level of renunciation, and then it went into the other way. And that is a clear sign that the renunciation was not, as was mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami in this purport, the real renunciation, the Krishna conscious renunciation. And Krishna, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, it's a lot about this topic, how where does the renunciation actually take place? What do you remember? What does Krishna say? Where is the real renunciation happening? in the heart, yeah, it's internal. And Krishna even went so far to say that if you renounce externally, but internally you are still attached. Mityachara, he uses the term mityachara, means you are a pretender. You are just externally making a show, but internally it's not real. Yesterday I was driving on the road, and you also notice sometimes there's this not advertisement actually in that sense, but it's kind of propaganda some Christian church makes. They, in a blue background, and it's I think in yellow or white, they put some shlokas. You must have seen. And there was a really nice shloka, like I was touched, and it's nicely connected to this point. And I found it online. It's in, how we call these, Samuel Evangeli. And here it says, Samuel 6:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, quote, "Do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Nice, huh? So there's one very nice pastime in Mahaprabhu's Leela. We know Mahaprabhu, he himself, he renounced. He became a sannyasi, and meaning externally he renounced material life. And on his journey, he was traveling through India, and he was on his way to Vrindavan. He stopped in Varanasi. And in the Vedic culture, if a sannyasi, he renounces, he will be very cautious not to associate with people who actually still have some material attachments. And he came to Varanasi, and Varanasi is a very famous place for spiritual people. Even if you go today, there is many yogis and Gyanis. So it was famous for long, I don't know for how long, maybe forever. Kashi, Varanasi is famous. And he came there, and so there were many other sannyasis, but you know what Mahaprabhu did? He rejected the association of the sannyasis, and he stayed with two grihastas. And people were very confused. How is it possible? He stayed with Chandrasekhar, who was it said he was a clerk. A clerk is like, it's a Shudra job actually, he's an employee. And in the Vedic hierarchy that's very low. And he was taking prasadam at one Brahmana's place, one Mishra. But he would not associate with the sannyasis, and why is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because even though the sannyasis in Varanasi, they were very exalted in renunciation, they were in a way inimical towards Krishna. So even though they were so exalted, they were very intelligent, very renounced, but they didn't accept Krishna. But on the other hand, these grihastas, even though they were having a job, they were maintaining family, they were pure Vaishnavas in their heart. So you see that point here in the Bible. Externally, we would tend to think these are the spiritual people. No, they are sannyasis, they renounced everything. And then the grihastas, they are very much entangled, and their association is not good. But Mahaprabhu shows this in his pastimes. No, you have to really look internal. It's not about what's happening out, but inside. But nevertheless, we shouldn't conclude then that this external is not important. No one could then go in another extreme and say, yeah, why do I have to pay respect to a sannyasi? One could even go to the extreme to say, in ISKCON, we are all the same, and why do I have to pay special respect to a sannyasi? That's not really the idea. And there's a very nice quote. I was fortunate to find it again. I had it in my mind because when last time I read it, I found it very potent, and I found it, I would like to read it to you. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 7th chapter. It's about Vyasadeva. In the Perpetual Prabhupada says, for spiritual advancement of knowledge, a suitable place and atmosphere are definitely required. The place on the western bank of the Saraswati is especially suitable for this purpose. And there is the ashram of Vyasadeva at Shamya Bras. Srila Vyasadeva was a householder, yet his residential place is called an ashram. An ashram is a place where spiritual culture is always foremost. It does not matter whether the place belongs to a householder or a mendicant. The whole Varnashram system is so designed that each and every status of life is called an ashram. This means that spiritual culture is the common factor for all. Very important note, we have brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, and all of them are ashram. And ashram always means spiritual culture. There is always a way in this ashram how you cultivate spiritual life. The brahmacharis, the grihasthas, the vanaprasthas, and the sannyasis all belong to the same mission of life, namely realization of the Supreme. Therefore, none of them are less important as far as spiritual culture is concerned. So, okay, spiritually, all of them are important and equal. But Prabhupada points out here, and that's really what I find very insightful, the difference is a matter of formality on the strength of renunciation. The sannyasis are held in high estimation on the strength of practical renunciation. Nice, no? That even though we are spiritually equal, but still practical renunciation, meaning external renunciation, is being acknowledged. And I have a very nice story about Prabhupada I heard from Mahatma Prabhu the other day, that one devotee was sharing that one time when Srila Prabhupada, he came back to India, he went to Vrindavan with his disciples, they were on a morning walk. So we know Srila Prabhupada, he lived in Vrindavan before he came to the West for quite some time, and he, if he lived in Vrindavan, he knew that place, he knew the people, and so he went to the West, and after some years he went back. And they went on a morning walk, and there was one, I don't know actually if it's true, but this devotee says he was a Mayavadi sannyasi, and he was doing some tapasya. Sometimes we see in Vrindavan, under a tree or somewhere, you see one person sitting all the time doing meditation. And Prabhupada, he went down and paid his obeisances to that sannyasi. And so they were shocked, and they asked Prabhupada, why? He's a Mayavadi, why do you pay obeisances? And Prabhupada said, I remember him from back in the time when I used to live in Vrindavan, and he's still at the same place doing the same tapasya, and we should pay respect to that. So Srila Prabhupada, he makes that point that we should not be immature, and that happens also. I'm a devotee and now everything else is Maya. No, still we can respect the renunciation which is exhibited by a person, because renunciation is very difficult. So in this way we can kind of this conflict reconcile that conflict between external and internal. And we can see also in Krishna's pastime, even though Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he would always offer respect to seniors, to superiors, as you mentioned in the Mahabharata, when Krishna, he came to Damodar Prasad Dasa. And why did he go there? Because after the Pandavas were in exile and they wanted back their half of the kingdom, and the Kauravas didn't give it, so Krishna was sent as a peace missioner. And he came, and when he was addressing the Kauravas, before he started, he said, the rishis came, he could see them, not everybody could see, so please offer them a seat, and he worshipped them. He paid his respect. So even Krishna is showing us this example. He doesn't have to worship anyone, he's the Supreme, but because he's playing a role as a Kshatriya, he's showing the example that this external hierarchy should always be respected. I don't have the time to read, so I'm sorry, I will just finish by saying about these pastimes of Krishna. We can see most of Krishna's very close associates in his Leela, they're Grihastas. In Vrindavan and also in Dwaraka. So that shows that Krishna is not a person he's not really attracted by renunciation if it's external. Of course, he's attracted by internal renunciation, and maybe I can read this, because Krishna himself in Krishna told King Yudhishthira that he is conquered by the love of one who has conquered his senses. Nice. One who has not conquered his senses cannot conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the secret of devotional service. To conquer the senses means to engage them constantly in the service of the Lord. So again, maybe we can round it up nicely with this verse from Rupa Goswami. Real renunciation doesn't mean sannyas or something externally, but it means that we engage all our activities, our mind and words in the service of the Lord. And that's the only way how a person can actually conquer the Lord. And we know this is a Goswami, actually. And if Krishna says he can be conquered by a devotee who has these qualities, it literally means he's conquered by them. And we see it with the Pandavas. Krishna, he became their servant. He was doing so many things for them. He was, like I just mentioned, he became the messenger of the Pandavas. The Supreme Lord himself, he took the role of a messenger, meaning a menial servant. Another thing he did, he became the charioteer of Arjuna. He was driving the chariot. Or one very connected with this pastime, because it's connected how Yudhishthira wants to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. What did Krishna do at the Rajasuya? He washed the feet of all the guests. So that's the sign that the Pandavas, even though they are engaged in all kinds of activities, they ruling the world, they're having multiple wives, children, doing sacrifices like the Rajasuya sacrifice, which is actually not purely, in its own nature, it's not a purely devotional sacrifice, it's actually a worship of the demigods. But because it's done by the pure devotee, it becomes a pure devotional activity. So they did all of this, and at the same time Krishna was constantly serving them, helping them, supporting them, assisting them. What does it mean? It means that they have actually conquered their senses. Meaning, even though externally they did all these things, internally they were completely detached. And that's nice, that when we read from Krishna book or Mahabharata, we can really take inspiration from the Pandavas, how they became so close to the Lord. So thank you for your attention. I hope there was some insight in this topic. And since it's already past, we can finish here. Have a nice day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.